in 2007, I don't know if you guys remember this case. In England, this girl, Sophie Lancaster, and her boyfriend, Robert Martley, they were walking in a park and they got savagely attacked by a group of teenagers, like from like 15 to like 17 years old. They were about like 20, 21 years old. And the reason why they got attacked was because they were dressed like goth kids. And when I say savagely attacked, like they were the girl's head, Sophie's head, she was cradling her boyfriend to protect him, and they were kicking her and stomping on her head.
Oh my God.
She spent 13 days in a coma, and then finally they're like, no, she's brain dead. She's not going to make it. She was taking off life support. The same day that she passed away was when her boyfriend was discharged from the hospital. He had absolute memory loss. He was in a coma himself. He had sustained several injuries that took him so long to recover from. So the reason why I bring this up, since this happened in 2007, so one of the attackers, his name's Ryan Herbert, he was 16 years old. And he is now being freed from prison on parole. He was sentenced to life in prison. I just struggle with that so hard. Because prison is supposed to rehabilitate a person, right? Mm-hmm. But how can you be rehabilitated from, like, savagely beating two people unprovoked?
Yeah, because you're not somebody that's going to perform an act and that is not fully there mentally. Like, they have some kind of mental illness or something wired wrong in their head that thinks it's okay to pretty much beat somebody to death in the park just because they were wearing different clothing than you. It just doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah, no.
Why would they be out of prison?
Yeah, this is clearly a oh my God, I can't think of the word that I want to use, but yeah, like this is a targeted attack. Like, they're both goth. And they were dressed goth-like. Like, no.
Yeah, so Herbert is now 30 years old, and his parole officer, like, signed off on him being released, saying that he made significant changes. In 2017, he did an interview where he showed remorse and was like, I can't believe that, this is what I did. But in the span that he's been in jail, the last 15 years, he has received a degree. He has held a job, like, on temporary release, and positive feedback from his supervisor. But Sophie didn't get that choice.
Mm-hmm.
She was about to go to art school, and her whole life was cut short because this mob attacked her and her boyfriend just because they're dressed differently. Like, I don't know.
So he did his 15 years?
He did 15 years. He was sentenced to life.
16.
Okay, so I would say 15 years is a little different. Hopefully you can be rehabilitated in that period. Because if you can't be rehabilitated in that period, then why are you in jail? Right? Like, not to advocate for the death penalty, but again, like, that's not a life in the first place, right? He's sitting in a jail just getting angrier and meaner.
Yeah.
That's, like, what I struggle with. The whole purpose of prison is to rehabilitate the criminal into a productive member of society. Like, should he have that choice? And then the other part of me is just, like, the amount of damage that he did. Like, he kicked her and stomped on her head. Like, and bragged about it. Like, that's not something that, I don't know, like, that can somebody be rehabilitated? So her mother actually started the Sophie Lancaster Foundation that advocates for, like, people finding justice for their families. Mm-hmm. And her mother's just like, you would have to hope at this point that he's rehabilitated. I don't know. That's crazy. And then everybody knows his name now. So, you know, like, will he be able to get a job or live a normal life?
Yeah, because then you
Did
have all those weird people who are like super into murderers and things like that. Mm,
Yeah.
Yeah, those people creep me out.
yeah.
and to think about
What were we saying?
to think about too is, you know, he was 16, he was with his buddies. I wonder if there was like a peer pressure situation. Like I know they bragged about it early on, but you know, 16, your brain is all sorts of messed up. And then to find enjoyment in that, it just really shows how wrong wired he was. And I don't know.
Maybe not ill-wired, but maybe just not prepared for the situation that he was in.
I think I'd have to know
Everybody
more
makes
about
dumb
the
mistakes,
trial
right?
for that.
But this is a little past a dumb mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know
This isn't taking a joyride in your parents' car and like knocking over some mailboxes. Like, this is
Yeah.
straight up murder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But again, if we can't trust the system to rehabilitate people in 15 years, then what is the system doing in the first place?
Making
Just
money.
keeping people out of our view, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it's kind of similar to what we talked about recently, like the two girls that were involved in the Slender Man killings way back when. Like, one of them was getting released. So it's the same. You're just like, wow, that was really dark and twisted and crazy. But theirs was more like premeditated and like a spur of the moment type of thing. Yeah. So I think he's actually already out. So that's been kind of like the uproar for Sophie. And I've been reading like a lot of different opinions and definitely things that you guys have echoed. Like, that's a really fucked up thing to do. But he has spent 15 years in prison. Can he be a member of society? Yes, go ahead.
I hope that he can, like, for his sake and for everyone else's. You know, anyone that kills someone, goes to prison, and is expected to be released or is looking to be released. I hope that they did find the hope that they get. You know, everyone deserves a second chance, is my personal belief. But you know, at what point do you draw the line where, like, you know, you shouldn't be given a second chance? You know. But I do hope that he found the help that he needs, got counseling, better brain on his shoulders. So what's up, Ethan?
I think that's a big fundamental question, though, about our justice system, right? Like, we want to move towards a justice system where we don't have a death penalty, but is removing the death penalty actually beneficial?
In some places,
because, well, you know, like I'm saying, like Ted Bundy, right?
Mm-hmm.
We could probably all agree that it was a justified outcome, right? But like this kid here in the United States, he could have faced the death penalty, right? Like, it could have been possible. But then again, if you're going to go spend 20, 30 years in prison, what kind of life is that really? You just be, you know, it's like putting them in a zoo. Except people can't come.
I was about to say that.
Only during visiting hours.
Visiting hours, yeah.
Don't feed them.
You
don't feed them. Don't touch them either. They're dangerous.
But they're people too. So like, that's the other part of it. These are like human beings. I don't know. I go back and forth with death penalty. I do think that there's certain types of people that cannot be rehabilitated, like pedophiles, you know, or people who do egregious crimes like Ted Bundy. But then again, it's just like, there are so many people who are sentenced to death and that were actually innocent. Like, we have projects like the Texas Innocence Project and all these other things that debunk junk science at the time.
Or the Central Park Five, who were illegally, like, detained, arrested, questioned,
interviewed.
yeah.
So it'd be interesting to read. So on the 10th anniversary in 2017, Robert Maltby, the boyfriend, gave an interview and was in a documentary called Murdered for Being Different. Wait, or is Robert the one that got released?
Robert Herbert is the one who got released. Robert Maltley is her boyfriend.
Okay. So yeah, he was...
It's the UK, everybody's Robert.
So it'd be interesting to go and see this documentary, and see his perception of everything.
Yeah,
she basically died protecting him. Like, that's crazy.
That's true love right there.
Die right there.
Yeah.
Looks like it's on Prime.
And then too, like,
talking about next week.
I mean, like, and then you have trial by media, right? So, you know, like, social media is a lot more prevalent now. So, like, even if he is released now, like, I don't know what kind of quality of life you have, or like what kind of like people harassment, you know, towards him or whatever the case may be. Because I mean, you look at other things in our media, like the Oscars last night, for example, it turned into a huge controversy. Well, that wraps up another great episode. And don't forget to join our amazing and supportive community on Discord.
In our Discord, you can find game nights, watch parties, food pics, Dungeons and Dragons, and more. What's not to love about that? We have a little something for everyone. Head over to our website, officialmillennials.com, and you'll find more info, especially our featured Gamer of the Week.
Speaking of something for everyone, we have a book club. We read a book almost every month and talk through it together. We also have a special perk for our subs to discuss other books in a series called Chapter 2.
Don't forget to swing by YouTube and drop us a follow at Official Millennials. You can also find us on Twitter at MillsOfficial. We appreciate all the support, and y'all have a good one.
This is an Official Millennials production.